Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to South by Southwest Comedy, the keynote event, the unfinished Orson Welles Roast of Hollywood. Now, please welcome your host, the star of The Third Man, the director of Citizen Kane, Mr. Orson Welles. Folks, here we are at South by Southwest. Give yourselves a round of applause for getting suckered into it. You've either paid too much for your badge or someone that you work with has sent you here because they're too lazy or famous to make the appearance themselves. South by Southwest, what on earth is South by Southwest? Can we start there? My God, when the title of something begins with cardinal directions from a compass, whether it's South by Southwest or North by Northwest, you know you're in for something that's over budget, overwrought, and ultimately overrated, if you ask me. South by Southwest, yes. Unfortunately, we're all here. I've had a storied career, and I decided to end up here after 40 years of pleasantly being deceased. Here I am, finally, because I heard I might be able to find funding for my motion picture from beyond the grave. Yes, my final masterpiece is an attempt to make the unfilmable film of Orpheus and his escape from the underworld. So ironically, I've done the same myself, and I've showed up here to find funding, but it turns out that everyone you run into South by Southwest who's a founder or a funder or a funding founder or, if God forbid, a founding funder, whenever you talk to them for more than 2 drinks, it turns out that they ask you for the money. Here's my question to South by Southwest. Does anyone have any money at all? Because there's panel after panel where they say, oh, here's how you get the money for the motion picture, but it doesn't ever seem to materialize, no matter how many we show up to. Here I am in Austin, Texas, with a nod to your great contemporary poet, Drake, I may say, we started at the top, and now we're here. Oh, South by Southwest, whatever your thoughts are on this little gathering that we have here in Austin, Texas, one must admit that for all of its faults and all of its promises kept and unmet, the South by Southwest is a fantastic adult daycare program. Without equal. Truly without equal. I mean, the playrooms, the bouncy playrooms with balloons sponsored by corporations out there. To say nothing of the system of badges. Oh, as if a treat that was gotten out of a Cracker Jack box. The badges on lanyards hung around the sweaty necks of Texas nerds and European critics as they toddling around the town. Unbelievable. Fantastic, folks. Unbelievable what we've done here. It really is something. I have been unable to get South by Southwest Film to agree to screen any of my motion pictures. I signed up long ago, and I said, well, you can have a package of badges if you like. I agreed to do this program. That's why you're seeing me abase myself, because in certain places in my own country, this is what I'm known for. Ladies and gentlemen, not as any kind of fantastic filmmaker, but for this kind of book. This is what I've known for in an occasional appearance on a talk show, a Johnny Carson or something, if you would. I see there's cameras here that are filming. If you are, I'm going to judge your shots later, that's for sure. I have one note for you, and that is black and white. I see there's some cineasts in the room, of course. I say black and white, and it had better be on film. And if I get a third note out of this, I'd say if anything is vertical in the final version of this picture, it better only indicate a momentary point of view that is drunk or deranged or psychologically destabilized. Can someone please explain to me this fad of the vertical video content? vertical video content. It is the winter of our discontent. If you don't. If I don't mind saying so, right? If I wouldn't mind saying so myself. Someone please explain this fatuous fad that we know as the vertical film. There was nothing wrong with the landscape. There was nothing wrong with the sort of a horizontal orientation of the human eye, of the motion picture. And they came up with the vertical video simply to accommodate the shape of the device that's in your hands. If they give you an orb, are you going to start watching round movies? If they start advertising upside down, you'll hang like an orangutan and watch your films like that? Now listen, all these influencers out there, I see some seed funders in the room. When I make these ironic remarks, these hypotheticals, they're not ideas for you to go take out there to your other investors. South by Southwest housing was a real crucifixion to go through, wasn't it? I put in a request months ago for the 4 seasons, and they denied it over and over again. Saying nothing of my work in the Man for All seasons, they stuffed me into the Citizen M Hotel, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it was a few letters off, but I appreciate the effort for Citizen Kane, of course. The rooms are so small at the Citizen M Hotel that when they pried me out of the room this morning, the box, they yanked me out of the box. For the next 90 minutes, I was a cube, 12 by 12. Luckily for me, it's right around the corner from Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Ruth's Chris. What on earth is a Ruth's Chris? Does he belong to her or she to him? Who are these steak-crossed lovers? It's a far cry from my heyday at Musso and Frank on Hollywood Boulevard, of course. Oh, that's a real party in your mouth. In my memory, that's the only filet mignon that I've not only eaten in one sitting, but also it tasted so good, I interviewed it for half an hour afterwards. Folks, we're all here. We're all here tonight because we have events that we haven't gotten into yet tomorrow, and we've signed up for the S by XX, the XXX Express Pass. Somehow it's not affiliated with OnlyFans, but I have a feeling that'll happen next year. I tried unsuccessfully to sign up for a mentor session, and I've been completely unable to. They said, Orson, can you come up from Hades, the underworld? I said, sure. They said, anything you want. I said, well, I'll require a hotel, and I wouldn't mind a mentor session with one of these young idiots. I've been waiting 5 weeks. I submitted typewritten requests on RKO letterhead. Over and over, rejected by all these influential filmmakers. Flamboyant Flamingo Productions. Downstreet Motion Pictures, Last Ditch Enterprises. Folks, I couldn't get on any one of them, and I hope none of you did either, because if you did, you'd be the only ones I'd ever heard of who ever got into a mentor session at South by Southwest. I am on the wait list for Crush It Pictures tomorrow at 10 a.m. Here we are in Austin, Texas, ladies and gentlemen. You know, as the fella said. What a place. What a fantastic place. You have pedicabs here. Again, the adult daycare. If I had been as a child in Wisconsin, if I had any idea there would be a pedicab as an adult man, I would have chucked Rosebud right in the chipper, I'll tell you that much. I took a pedicab down 6th Street to investigate some of the delicious lunch lorries you have in this town. Lunch lorry, as the hoi polloi might refer to them, the food trucks, of course. And on the street, all I found was people hawking $4 shots. My God, I thought it was expensive at the Beverly Hilton. It's the most I've ever heard for a shot of whiskey or tequila. And you're talking to the impresario behind Touch of Evil. Let's not forget that. I walked past the Shakespeare pub right here on 6th Street, and I offered them the finest Falstaff monologue in iambic pentameter from Henry IV. And they gave me neither wine nor women nor song. Folks, we're here at South by Southwest, and we're looking for, there's some tremendous competition on the other side of town for us. There's a lot of film luminaries here, of course. Obviously, there's a premiere, and none of you got into it, and that's why you're here. The premiere of Three Body Problem, based on the hit novel by Cixin Liu. Of course I read them. There's not much to do that in the afterlife. You keep up with whatever's on Barack Obama's recommended novel list. The Three Body Problem. Where I come from, that's not a motion picture or even a must-watch television for you to binge somewhere. A Three Body Problem in my time was the kind of orgy that we used to have at the Chateau Marmont. That was a very easy woo that I got out of you, I'm sorry. Three Body Problem, but knowing Netflix, we can safely predict that the Three Body Problem will be canceled by only 1.5 bodies. Netflix. What is Netflix doing after all? Are they in the room? Netflix, it seems to be that they keep throwing all of their money at Dave Chappelle and Hannah Gadsby and having a mixed martial arts fight between the two of them. If that's the cultural battle of the Civil War that's coming in this country, then consider me another Mark Twain. Be happy to desert the conflict and skip off to neutral ground. Folks, if you want to cancel me for that, it's too bad. I wasn't able to make my Man of La Mancha picture was unfilmable, so I have the skin of armor, ladies and gentlemen, you understand? Of course you do. Of course you don't. What wouldn't you understand? Why would we continue any of this, really? There's some luminaries here who've joined us, of course. They might be in the building later here. South by Southwest has a lot of pull, I think. I understand Meghan Markle is going to be presenting something. Meghan, you are the good guy. I know a protagonist when I see one, and I know the villains, and they're in London. There's no way around that. But Meghan, you've gotten out. You should stop talking about what happened. Tell another story, for God's sake. Every time you open a magazine, it's the same thing. I've heard it so many times. I know. Here's the basics of the fairy tale. Once upon a time, there was a good princess who married a prince who turned out to be a cad, a philanderer, and ultimately a wicked prince. And yet she had 2 sons with him. Well, that did nothing to win over his heart, and ultimately he left her for his paramour. And then the good princess died in a car crash in Paris when he had her executed, of course, something like Henry VIII. And then the evil stepmother was wicked and said terrible, terrible things to the 2 sons and their lovers and fiancés and wives later on. Folks, we've heard the story. That's the gist of it. Move on. Meghan, Harry, you moved to California. Do California shit now. You live in Santa Barbara. You almost could afford a house if you have a cosigner, I think. Do what California rich people do. Open a winery and go on and on about how you're going into solar. No one knows what it means, ladies and gentlemen, but we're going into solar. Harry, there's other kinds of British people you can be. You don't have to be the one that says stiff upper lip and all that, you know. You can be the kind that grows his hair long and bald at the same time and blasts Pink Floyd from his motorcycle. Meghan, you've been through so much. You need to hear this. Stop talking about the trauma. Meghan, you won. You fantastically won. You entered a castle and rescued a prince. You pulled off the reverse Super Mario Brothers. Doodle-doo-doo-doo-doo, doodle-doo-doo-doo-doo. Game over, you win. There's other luminaries here. We have, I think later here tonight, we'll have in this very building, Judd Apatow, folks. Judd Apatow, the man of the hour, or should I say the man of the 3.5 hour. Judd, do you need a recommendation for an editor? I know a couple in Laurel I thought the last act of some of the films were too far. I thought you'd go with me on that one. Frank Oz is on the festival, ladies and gentlemen. We're happy to welcome Frank Oz, a dear friend of mine, a legend from both the Muppets and Star Wars. Can anyone else say that? I don't think so, unless Yoda was fooling around on Sesame Street in a way that I don't know about. I realize when I see Frank later on tonight, I'm going to have to thank him for that hand job from Miss Piggy. Frank Oz, enjoy the victory lap. Enjoy it. I've been here for the final round, the final send-off of your career. I've done it, and I've soaked up the last drops of goodwill. And let me say this, if you're at South by Southwest, I assure you that you're one step ahead of me. On my final swan song tour, it was a guest role on Magnum P.I. and an under 5 on Moonlighting. And if you will, a scene-stealing turn in the cartoon animated motion picture of Transformers. That's right. I've got no patience for a filmmaker like Lars von Trier and his melancholia, knocking planets against each other like they're billiards, rolling around on someone's billiard table. I'm sorry. I was Unicron. I don't need to see your planets crashing into each other, Lars. Lars von Tryhard, that's what I call him. Folks, the Oscars are here, but I think we'll save that for our guest panel. Well, there is a guest panel. You didn't think surely this would be only me up here all the entire time, although I could. I really could. I've brought aliens to life. I landed them not far away. I've been a sheriff in a small town, and I've lived through the trial. Folks, they offered to pay me, and that's one of the reasons I said yes, because I need the money. And that's why you see me here tonight in such aplomb and panache, of course, if I don't do there myself. When I arrived here, when I landed at Bergstrom Field, I found out that the payment, the good coin of the realm that they had promised me, was merely in the form of platinum badges that I was to hand out as +1s, or as ones plus, if you're speaking the King's English tonight, I'd say. +1 platinum badges. So apparently, platinum is what I've been able to pay them for, and I've had to use them instead of any payment. I've gotten a few friends into the festival, haven't we all? That's what it's all for. Like a Budweiser, you're supposed to spread them around, folks. And so here I have a few guests. They've joined me. We're going to talk about motion pictures, cinema, films, and the movies. And whatever else happens to come to mind. So without further ado, I'll make the long and arduous journey from this podium to that table right over there. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.